if you're struggling to fall asleep and stay asleep at night, this video is for you. If you have not hit the subscribe button yet, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the bell to be notified anytime I post new content relating to women's health, holistic health, and hormone health. You guys, so many women come to me feeling like they can't sleep, whether they have a hard time falling asleep, they lay there for hours, or they sleep super restlessly. Maybe they feel like their eyes are just barely closed. Maybe they feel like they're looking at the ceiling from 1 to 3 a.m. All of these scenarios are definitely very common and something that I treat all the time in my practice. And to be honest, I've struggled with this in my own life too. So I'm going to give you all the tips today to get yourself a better night's sleep, because we all know the outlook of life, how we feel, our hormonal health, and our health in general is so much better when we get good sleep. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. So my number one tip for this is to set a bedtime routine. It's so hard for your nervous system to calm down at night when we've been running around, stressed out, going all day, doing chores, busy as all get out, then to just go into the bed, lay down, and fall asleep for 8 hours. Your nervous system needs time to kind of wind down, come down from the day. And so I encourage all of my patients, and myself included, to do a bedtime routine. We are taught this with our kids. We know that our kids do better with their circadian rhythm if we do a bedtime routine with them. And as adults, like I said, we tend to stay up after the kiddos go to bed, and then we, do chores or finish up things, or we're scrolling social media, or we're finally, relaxing to some extent. But then we just expect ourselves to fall into bed and sleep for 8 hours. And like I said, this is an unrealistic expectation. So what I want you to do is, for 1 hour before bedtime, I want you to make that your bedtime routine. You don't have to, you can do it with your kids. I always say, if you have kids, kind of kill two birds with one stone, and you guys start doing it together. So doing things like washing your face, dimming down the lights, remind yourself of how your circadian rhythm works, and kind of do things in accordance to that. So instead of looking at blue lights and keeping everything really bright and going, dim down the lights, start to shut off the electronics for 1 hour before bed. Like I said, wash your face, set out your clothes for the night before, turn down your bed, pick out a book or start reading. If you have kids or a family, you can read together even. You can, hang out in the kids' room and let them play quietly, but let yourself kind of come down, start breathing a little bit deeper and slower. These things are all messages to your circadian rhythm. Hey, the day's over. Stop producing cortisol. Let's increase the melatonin, because we want to get a good night's sleep. You guys can do whatever you want for your bedtime routine, from journaling, reading, listening to a podcast, drinking a nice cup of tea, hanging out with your family without blue light, whatever it is. But I do encourage it to be relaxing, slow, a little bit dark, or dim down the lights, like I said, and try to avoid electronics, which I'll talk about here in a second. Number 2, avoid blue light. I know it feels so easy to just scroll on social media, use our phones, use our computers, our tablets, watch the TV, but these devices send blue light to our faces, and our eyes detect this blue light as daylight, and so it sends a message to your brain, hey, produce a bunch of cortisol instead of melatonin, which keeps us awake longer. And even if you're exhausted enough to fall asleep, it definitely impairs your sleep quality. So maybe you are noticing that you're able to fall asleep, but then, a few hours later you're waking up or you're sleeping restlessly. A lot of this can be due to blue light exposure, because it decreases the amount of melatonin that we produce, which is our good sleep hormone and keeps us asleep for the night. Melatonin is also an antioxidant, just as a little bit of a tip. And so antioxidants are basically like our trash keepers and take out the trash while we're sleeping too. So we want good deep sleep, good amounts of melatonin to do all the different functions for us. I always encourage you to put your blue light away for 1 hour before bedtime. And like I said, do that bedtime routine in that 1 hour. Number 3, I actually got this from a colleague. Her name's Damiana Corca, and she's a fellow acupuncturist who her specialty is sleep. So she talks primarily about sleep all the time, and she came up with this idea called the 12-12 rule. So in Chinese medicine, we have this idea of like yin and yang. So yang's really active, busy, productive, work, exercise, all of that stuff. And yin is more quiet, dark, slow, relaxing, rejuvenating, all of that. And so her idea is this 12-12 rule. And I know not everybody can totally do this in terms of 12-12, but if you can, pick 12 hours of the day to where it's active, productive, you're working out, you're busy, you're doing all of the things, and then 12 hours of the day to where you kind of start winding down a little bit. You turn off the computer, you stop working, don't work out, and you're just kind of more nourishing and rejuvenating yourself. So I know a lot of us have, things to do outside of that 12-12, but even if you are at kids sports, for example, like I tend to wake up myself around 5 or 6, and then, sometimes we don't get home until 8 p.m. from kids sports. And so, that's way longer than 12 hours. But even if you're at kids sports and stuff, you can start to kind of like slow yourself down a little bit and get off the phone a little bit, and start viewing yourself as this rejuvenating, more relaxing time. You can drive slower home. You can go home and, have all the chores, the lunches made, all of that stuff done before sports practices, things like that, so that you're not coming home at 8 p.m. and just tearing through the house, getting everything that wasn't done yet done for the next day. And I know it's hard with kids to do this, but I encourage you guys to make as much time as you can for this relaxation, rejuvenation. So even if it's not a 12-12, but it's more like 14-10, I think that also would be extremely beneficial. So I want to know in the comments, how many of you have struggled with insomnia and what have you done to cure it? There are so many different ideas and cures and disciplines and practitioners and all kinds of things that talk about insomnia all the time. So if you've overcome insomnia, I would love to know what helped you in the comments section. Okay. Make sure that we stop drinking alcohol and eating about 3 hours before bedtime. Alcohol has to be metabolized by the liver, and it takes full precedence. So your liver is a filtering organ that filters all the things that we're exposed to, from environmental toxins to foods to pesticides to all the things that we have, hormones. And if you drink alcohol, the alcohol takes full precedence first to do that. And so you want that process to be done before you go to sleep, so that you're not doing it while you're sleeping, which can encourage your body to sleep restlessly or wake up. Even if you pass out, initially in the night, it can definitely cause you to wake up later in the nighttime. So make sure that you're done drinking 3 hours before bed. Get super hydrated. Take some B vitamins in there. Electrolytes, get really, really hydrated after drinking. And also, you guys, with food, you want your body to be full, but not too full before bed. So some people do fine eating a little closer to bedtime than 3 hours. Other people don't. But you really want to stack your dinner full of protein, because half the time for people that wake up from like 1 to 3 a.m. or in the middle of the night, it can be due to either blood sugar or cortisol. And so those are the two things that with my patients I'm always looking at if they complain of waking up in the middle of the night. And so to balance our blood sugar, like I said, we want to have a good amount of protein at our dinner time. We want to have protein, fat, and fiber at each meal throughout the day to keep that super stable, so that your blood sugar is not dipping in the middle of the night, causing you then to wake up. That's a super common reason. So make sure that your dinner's full of protein, done drinking alcohol about 3 hours before bed, and make sure that you're full before bed, but not overly full to where your body's still really in the active digestive process, because that also can make you wake up at night. Number 5, you guys, is be a responsible caffeine drinker. I know that if you're not sleeping, this can perpetuate a massive cycle to where you're not sleeping, you're exhausted, you're having an afternoon energy crash, you reach for more caffeine, and that can keep you up. So the average caffeine can be metabolized in about 5.5 to 6 hours. It can range for people between 2 and 9 hours. So it depends on if you're a fast metabolizer of caffeine. Some people metabolize it super fast. Some people are really slow. So the half-life of it, again, is between 5.5 and 6 hours on average. So that means that if you drink a latte or caffeine at 3 p.m., you still by 9 p.m. could have half of that amount of caffeine in your body still, which can definitely impair sleep. So in my opinion, working with our natural circadian rhythm, drink your cup of coffee or glass of caffeine, whatever you like to have, in the morning when cortisol is already spiked and super high, and also you have time to metabolize that caffeine throughout the day. If you're struggling with that afternoon energy crash and you really feel like you need something, try some lion's mane tea or elixir. Four Sigmatic has an elixir that is called lion's mane, and it's helpful for focus, productivity, and that afternoon energy crash a little bit. So I love taking mushrooms in that time of the day if I'm feeling like I am not quite as focused, lacking productivity, and I really want to be focused in that time. So try to avoid that afternoon caffeine because it's probably impairing your sleep still. When you wake up at night, if you do, avoid the catastrophic thoughts. So many times people will wake up in the middle of the night and they're like, oh my gosh, I can't sleep. This is miserable. I hate this. What's wrong with me? I'm going to be so tired tomorrow. I need to sleep. I need to be focused tomorrow. I have a big day. When you do that, you are revving up your nervous system 100 times more. You're telling your brain, oh my gosh, this is a huge problem to solve. This is super scary. We're not sleeping. We need to get sleep. And when you do that to your brain, it responds with producing more cortisol and adrenaline, which is literally the antidote to sleep. You want as little cortisol and adrenaline when you're sleeping at night as you can. So my advice to you is, even though I know it's not fun and it's uncomfortable to be awake in the middle of the night, try to find some way to keep your nervous system calm. So when I was struggling with this in my own life, I actually kind of reframed it a little bit and said, okay, you're still resting. You may not be sleeping, but you're still resting. And also, it was really peaceful. So everyone was sleeping. There's never a time in my day where I got the house to myself. And if I was fine, just awake, I would just kind of lay in bed, maybe turn on a podcast, and make it semi-enjoyable, so I felt like it was okay and I felt like I was still safe and didn't need to be sleeping in that time. That will send messages of safety to your body and say, okay, this isn't ideal, but we're okay. This is not that big of a deal. And I want you to encourage yourself, if this is something that you struggle with consistently, remind yourself that you have survived this 100% of the time. If you're still with us today, you've survived it every single day. And yes, you might be tired. It might not be ideal. You still are okay. You still have handled it every single day that you've dealt with it. And so I think reminding yourself of that, while it might not be ideal, you're okay, is such a huge message of safety to your brain that it can start to kind of take the edge off and make your nervous system a little bit more calm. So I want to remind you to avoid catastrophic thinking and revving yourself up when you're laying there in the middle of the night. If you're feeling really anxious, get up out of your bed, go lay on the couch or go to a different setting and go back to your bed when you start to feel a little bit more tired. But kind of moving out of that space and moving through those emotions can be super helpful. Number 7 is have a consistent sleep and wake time. So our body runs on a circadian rhythm, and we know that cortisol is produced in the day and we know melatonin is produced in the nighttime. And if we have consistent sleep and wake times, I know not everyone's career can totally do that, but if you can, as much as possible, try to get yourself to go to have a bedtime and a wake time, and that will help regulate your circadian rhythm as well. And then you guys, we set the stage for our sleep actually in the morning. So all of our activities throughout the day actually does set the stage for how we sleep at night. So I encourage you, when you get up in the morning, go with your natural circadian rhythm and start looking at sunlight. Be exposed to some amount of light. If you have a light box, that's great. You can be exposed to the sunlight. If you have that, I know right now is a lot of winter for a lot of people, or late fall where the sun might not be shining every day. So a light box might be super helpful for you. But that will help say, okay, brain, it's daylight. Let's produce a bunch of cortisol here. Let's get ready for the day. You'll feel less groggy. You'll feel more energized. And also you will sleep better at night if you kind of expose your brain to that light throughout the day. And then, like I said, start dimming the lights in the evening and nighttime hours. I also encourage you to start your day with about 20 to 30 grams of protein. If you're struggling with insomnia, don't intermittent fast. I have a video all about fasting that I'll post in the comments section, but don't intermittent fast. Keep your body on a really stable basis. So eat 3 meals per day, wake up, eat 20 to 30 grams of protein to really keep your blood sugar super stable. These 8 tips are all the sleep hygiene stuff that actually work. And if you're struggling with insomnia, I would pick several of these to start working on. The ones that you think are the easiest for you and the ones that you think you need the most work with. And this will help your body get into a state of better sleep. If you're still struggling with insomnia after doing these things, I encourage you to, work with a practitioner or find somebody who can help kind of diagnose what's going on. Like I said, most of the time it's due to cortisol levels or blood sugar levels preventing you or keeping you awake at night. And so addressing those two things can be super helpful. I have the digital course, Heal Your Hormones, which we talk all about sleep and what to do for it, including different supplements and things like that. And also I do one-on-one consultations. So I'll leave the links in the comments for all of that stuff too. If you have not downloaded my new free guide, 6 evidence-based habits for healthy hormones, go ahead and do that too at allydamron.com/habits. These things are all habits that I encourage you to have healthy hormones, more energy, better sleep, better periods, better moods, all the things. So again, I'll leave the link in the comments for that, but it's allydamron.com/habits, totally free and immediate download. If you have not subscribed and clicked the bell to receive notifications for this channel, go ahead and do that so that you get notified anytime I post new content relating to women's health, hormones, and holistic health. I'll talk to you guys soon.